Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different, actually. You, our listener, shared something we're treating as a kind of philosophical thesis for success. It's just a title, but what a title. Billionaire Habits. Morning Rituals, Lasting Legacy. Now, we don't actually have the book or article itself, but the way this source material is framed, well, it's so specific. The title itself becomes our mission statement for this deep dive. It's basically asserting this direct, really crucial link between very specific daily structure and, the biggest possible long-term impact. So we're diving into that assertion, the structure of the claim.
Yeah, and what strikes me immediately is just how bold that linkage is. It's quite audacious, really. The framing here connects three totally different scales of human effort and just stacks them right up. You start with habits, right? The basic building block. Then you layer on morning rituals, that's the tactical bit, the specific timing and structure, and the claimed result, lasting legacy, which is, generational, huge. The title is basically saying, look, if you want the massive macro results, you absolutely have to nail the micro inputs. Optimize them.
Okay, right. Let's unpack that structural assertion, starting right at the foundation. Habits. Just the word habits is interesting, but when the source sticks billionaire in front of it, well, that really shifts the conversation, doesn't it? We're not talking about, like, remembering to floss.
Exactly.
We're talking about routines that seem almost engineered for massive output, for strategic leverage.
That's it precisely. The word billionaire signals these aren't just accidental patterns. They're what you might call high leverage habits. Think about compounding, not just money, but compounding behavior. In finance, small deposits grow huge over time. This title implies the same thing happens with discipline, like a tiny improvement in focus or decision-making. If you repeat that daily through a specific habit, it doesn't just add up, it multiplies, it compounds.
Right, that makes sense. We hear a lot that successful people have better habits, but you're saying it's the quality of the habit, its potential for leverage. That's what lets it scale up to, well, a billionaire level outcome.
Yes, though the question the title raises, which we can't answer without the text, is how. Is it the specific habit, like what they do, or is it more about the structure, the how and when?
So how would we even define a high leverage habit in this kind of context? Is it something obvious like reading financial reports for an hour or something else?
Often it seems less about the specific activity, although that obviously matters, and more about the cognitive sort of space the habit creates or protects. A high leverage habit, especially when you're operating at that kind of scale, it probably reinforces the identity needed to sustain that scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Identity.
Yeah. So maybe it's less about what specific book they read and more about the ingrained habit of constant strategic learning. That's what allows for consistently better high-stakes decisions.
Than the competition, presumably.
Exactly. These habits have to be almost like self-reinforcing systems. They can't rely on just sheer willpower every single morning. That's not sustainable.
And that idea, the structural part, protecting the habit, making it almost automatic, that fits perfectly with the next piece of the title, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So if we accept these habits need to be intentional, high leverage, the title then immediately asks, why the morning? Why morning rituals? Why cram these crucial actions specifically into the morning? Why not say an afternoon power hour?
Well, the shift in language is key. From habit to ritual. That's our first big clue about the strategy involved.
How so?
A habit can become almost unconscious, right? You just do it.
Wow.
But a ritual that implies deep intention, it implies a specific sequence, protection. It's almost sacred space in your schedule. It suggests a deliberate defense against, well, decision fatigue, against the chaos of the day. Think about a typical morning for many people. You wake up, first thing is grab the phone, check notifications.
Guilty.
Right. And before you've even had coffee, you've made maybe dozens of small, low-value, reactive decisions. Which email to bin, what news alert to glance at, how to fire off a quick text reply.
Right. Little cognitive drains.
Exactly. It just fritters away your best mental energy. So the source title, by zeroing in on the morning ritual, seems to assert that these ultra-successful people recognize something critical. They know their most important work, their hardest decisions, require peak cognitive energy. And for most people, that energy is highest right at the start of the day, before the world intrudes.
So it's not just about organizing your time better. It's actually about conserving mental fuel. The ritual acts like a protective bubble for your brain, a space where only the really high priority stuff, the deep work, is allowed before the emails and meetings start flooding in.
Precisely. Think about deep work, concentrating without distraction, pushing your cognitive limits. The morning ritual seems to be the structure designed for that. The billionaire, according to this title's logic, isn't clearing their inbox at 6 a.m.
Right.
They're maybe designing a new strategy, tackling their single hardest problem, or doing essential long-range thinking. They front-load the day with maximum impact output. Plus, there's a psychological element. A ritual creates momentum.
Oh, okay.
If you complete a series of planned, important actions first thing, you kind of set a tone, a bias towards execution for the whole rest of the day. It's like you've already won the most important battle before most people are even properly awake.
Okay.
And that, the title implies, is what's needed to operate at enormous scale. You have to minimize the reactive stuff and just maximize proactive, high-return effort.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating for me, but also where I feel like I need to push back a bit on the premise implied by the title. We're going from this very micro-level thing, a specific sequence of actions in the morning, the ritual, all the way to the ultimate macro result, lasting legacy. I mean, that's a huge jump, isn't it? Doesn't focusing so intensely on the internal ritual kind of ignore all the massive external factors? Things like sheer luck, getting the market timing right, geopolitical shifts, stuff you absolutely need to hit that billionaire scale and achieve a legacy.
That's a vital question. Absolutely crucial. And you're right, no amount of perfect morning rituals will guarantee a billion-dollar outcome if, say, your core market vanishes overnight or a regulatory bomb drops.
Right.
We have to acknowledge that the external world, the environment, plays a massive role, often maybe even the dominant role. Luck is real. However, what the title's thesis seems to focus on is the controllable variable. What can you influence? The title is essentially asserting that the consistent daily implementation of this strategic, high-leverage behavior, the ritual, is what maximizes your probability of capitalizing on opportunity when it shows up. You can't control when the lucky break comes or when the market turns, but you can control your preparedness, the clarity of mind, the readiness of your strategy that you bring to that moment.
I see. So the ritual isn't about creating the luck. It's about being ready to catch it when it flies by.
Exactly. It's the constant sharpening of the axe, so when the tree appears, you can actually cut it down efficiently. The ritual is the preparation that makes the successful response possible, or at least more likely.
Okay, that reframes legacy too then. It stops it from being just about, a massive pile of cash. When we talk about legacy for people operating at this level, we usually mean systems, right? Institutions, maybe. Ideas that change whole industries and stick around long after the founder is gone.
Precisely. The word legacy implies results that go way beyond personal wealth or immediate success. It suggests an enduring impact, a multi-decade, even generational viewpoint. It means the person leading the charge isn't just thinking about the next quarter's earnings, they're operating with maybe a 50-year horizon in mind.
Wow, that takes incredible patience.
And strategic coherence, mental endurance, things that arguably have to be cultivated and protected daily. Which brings us back to the ritual. Think about the ripple effect through an organization. If the leader, the main decision maker at the top, is consistently using their best brain power on the hardest, most strategic, long-term problems every single morning, well, the quality of that entire organization's long-term planning has got to improve dramatically, right?
You'd assume so.
So the legacy isn't just some happy accident of getting rich. It's perhaps the institutional result of the founder's disciplined thinking, reinforced day after day, year after year, by those protected morning rituals. It's the commitment to deep, long-term strategy baked into the structure of the day, insulating it from short-term noise and distractions.
So the title is basically drawing a line, a causal chain. It's saying the ritual protects cognitive energy that allows for deeper strategic thinking, which enables multi-decade planning, which ultimately builds generational impact. The legacy isn't built in one go. It's the accumulation of these tiny, protected, repeated strategic moments day in, day out.
That seems to be the core assertion embedded right there in the structure of the title. Micro-discipline fueling macro outcome.
Okay. So, bringing this back to you, the listener, right now, what does this all mean for you? This structure, just the title itself, poses a really powerful question about how you allocate your own resources, specifically your time and energy. Are you consciously optimizing your daily structure, especially your morning, to directly support your biggest, furthest goals? Or are you maybe letting low-leverage reactive stuff kind of dictate how your day starts?
Yeah, the title itself almost works like a mini checklist for thinking about success frameworks. If you're aiming for something really ambitious, something enduring your own version of a legacy, the title suggests you need to actively look for where these three things intersect in your own life. Habits, ritual, legacy. Like, if you're only focused on the habits, the what, but you don't have the ritual, the protected when and how, you'll probably struggle with consistency, right? You'll get derailed.
Makes sense.
Or if you have the ritual down pat, you're disciplined, but it's not clearly connected to a big, ambitious, legacy-level goal, well, then the discipline might lack that deep, driving motivation. It might feel pointless after a while.
Right.
The real power, according to this framing, comes when that microdiscipline is directly and consciously mapped onto your macro objective. It's supposed to be an unbroken line of consequence, from the first hour of the day to the ultimate outcome.
That's a really powerful way to frame it. Fantastic. So this deep dive, just by analyzing the title structure, suggests this direct strategic link between habits, the building blocks, the morning ritual, the discipline structure and protection, and lasting legacy, the ultimate large-scale, long-term impact.
Exactly. And that leaves us with perhaps a final thought for you to chew on. A provocative question, maybe. If the whole point of the morning ritual, as suggested here, is to conserve your best cognitive energy for your most critical strategic work, how does your current morning routine stack up? How much of it is focused on defense, things like exercise, meditation, planning, which are important for setting the stage, versus how much is dedicated to offense, like actual deep work, tackling the hard problems, high-stakes thinking? Which side of that equation, defense or offense, maybe needs the most adjustment in your preparation for your biggest goals? Where's the imbalance, if there is one?
Brilliant question to end on. A real call to action there. We hope this exploration, just based on a title, helps you think about your own routines with maybe a bit more strategic rigor, more intention. Until next time, keep digging deep into your own sources.